silence all around the line. If they get the chance, they were born in bloody circumstance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. A voice from the underground, given room to breathe, not but be drowned. So die if you get the chance. Better men than you've been, let this stand. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. I have seen the worst, and there is nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me away. To go, leave me, run like you never did. No, believe me, run like you never run before.
I just managed to turn that off just in time. Hey, welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast. It is myself, John Anderson, here tonight. We're back to do a wee bit of URC previewing, have a wee chat about the comings and goings in Scottish rugby in the last week or so. Tonight, I am joined by a very, very special guest. We have got David from the Scrum of the Earth podcast here to join us on this odyssey of URC. Welcome, David.
Odyssey, that's a great word for it. I love it. Thanks for having me, John.
It's great to have you along, mate. And we might even touch on some of your MLR at some point. I'm sure it'll get a wee mention at some point. So, but yeah.
Well, I brought a fitting poem this time for y'all.
Oh, good.
So this time I went with a pretty on the nose one. Oh, by the way, I'm hoping my audio is better than last time. I listened back to the episode last time I was on, and it was abominable. So my apologies to all your listeners for that one.
No, not at all. I think your audio is perfectly acceptable tonight,
Good.
mate. Sounding good. So, yeah, we are we're here. We're live. We had talked about taking a wee break over the summer, but we just couldn't resist it, and we wanted to keep bringing you rugby. Obviously, there's been other things happening in Scottish rugby over the last wee while, but this episode we will keep it light-hearted and jovial. And with the pro clubs coming back for the pre-season friendlies, which we will come on to in due course, because wow, is there news about that? But
well, I've got the very last stanza, just the 4 lines by Robert Louis Stevenson from a little bit called Summer Sun, and it's just above the hills, along the blue, round the bright air with footing true, to please the child, to paint the rose, the gardener of the world he goes. Love that little bit. The setting sun of the summer, and we're almost back to the URC Odyssey, as you say.
Mm-hmm. We are almost back to URC time. We are all looking very much forward to that World Cup year coming up as well. It is going to be a barnstorming season. But first of all, let's get the business out the way first. If you find yourself stumbling upon this podcast for the first time and you think to yourself, wow, those guys really deserve a little bit of my hard-earned money to support the podcast, you can head on over to let's go this one. You can head on over to patreon.com/Scottish Rugby and you can subscribe to us and get exclusive content, including our famous Hands in the Ruck section, which, I mean, the rumours are it's worth the admission price alone. There might be a few swearies in that. We also try to do bonus episodes for Patreons only. And the final exciting piece of news is you get access to the super secret Hugh Dan Fans Facebook page, which grants you access to go and join like-minded souls who have also supported the podcast, and you can have a good banter in there, obviously.
That's the Fozrock super secret, right?
Yeah. I mean, Fozrock, it sounds like some sort of, like, if you were to get Fozrock antivirus software, you would be like, fair enough, that sounds good. Like, I would trust that as antivirus software.
I feel like it's where Barney Rubble worked at one point as well.
Yes, right, yes. So yeah, feel free to come on over. There's 2 levels of Patreon. You can join us £3 a month, which I'm reliably informed is less than a pint of beer. You can support the podcast and get extra content if you so desire. Otherwise, we are here. We've got a wee bit of free entertainment for you just now, and then we will head on over for our patrons to do a wee bit of Hands in the Ruck in due course. We are meant to have Craig, potentially. Don't know where he is. So if Craig appears, just sort of roars into screen, then it'll be good to have him along. But let's start.
I'm picturing him trapped on a Roomba somewhere trying to get off of it right now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Or just shaking his fist violently, screaming, "It's not a Hoover!"
I would buy that shirt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we should definitely get him that shirt. He'll be very happy. So let's talk about a little bit about the news. We will come on to the Scotland strip release, which happened a couple of days, or happened yesterday, in fact. We'll come on to that in a wee minute. But first of all, let's talk about Glasgow Warriors. Yes, that's right. I'm always going to go there first because Craig's not here. Glasgow are due to be playing a pre-season friendly this weekend coming against Worcester Warriors. Worcester Warriors, who are currently or are about to be in administration, depending how recently you're listening to this. Lots of financial issues down at Worcester, unpaid tax bill, rumours that players haven't been paid or are not getting paid. Lots going on there. A really tough one as well. And obviously, from a Scottish rugby perspective, David, it's difficult because there is a couple of big Scottish players down there in Sutherland and Johan. Yeah.
Well, yesterday there was some, quote, news unquote, about a U.S. consortium offering to get involved, and it looked like that was positive, or at least they were putting the positive spin on it. At least they said all the right things about it's, Worcester's rugby's a part of Worcester. We can't let it go. So I hope they're, going to put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, so that will be is that the consortium? Yeah, I've got it here. That's a consortium led by Jim O'Toole, who used to be the chief executive at Worcester, so obviously knows the lay of the land down there. It's interesting as well because Worcester have always been so Scottish rugby have always had an interest, not necessarily financially, but have in the past looked at or speculated about possibly investing in Worcester. So. It's a strange one because obviously,
between the Worcester Warriors and DC United, they obviously have a great sense of what clubs to.
Old Glory, yeah, exactly. I know, and we had the French one as well that we invited. So it's an interesting one. And I think people will ask why are Scotland not, or why is the SRU not like taking the opportunity just now? We're crying out for a third pro club. Why are they not taking the opportunity to invest and maybe put a bit of money into Worcester, get a bit of control? And if anyone is asking that question, I would suggest to you just simply read some of the regulations in the Premiership, given the RFU and the clubs themselves, the Premier Rugby, which is the governing body that runs the Premiership, they don't like necessarily foreign investment.
Oh,
not fans. Foreign investment that impacts. So they would be pretty reticent to allow the SRU to invest in an English team, because obviously the English pro clubs have subsidies for English qualified players. They despite the fact they act as separate entities, they are still working with the RFU in a lot of ways. So the idea of Scotland having a say in one of their clubs probably sticks a wee bit in the craw of quite a few people. So
yeah,
wouldn't imagine it'll happen.
I mean, how would that benefit Scotland? You said, well, there's talk about a third team, so why not invest? How would having a stake in the Warriors help a third club team, in a different league in the URC?
Yeah, so I think just having a degree of ownership or a degree of influence in that club would allow players to, for example, like Rory Sutherland and Duhan, if you're looking for a change of scene or you're looking for somewhere else to blood players, especially with the Premiership being, we obviously had the conversation on your podcast recently regarding the different types of league and what sort of the sort of benefits that players could get from different types of league.
Yeah.
And being able to send young Scottish players down to play maybe on loan for a season to the Worcester Warriors, you're not going to get a better scrummaging lesson than playing Premiership rugby for a year. So
I'm not sure it's been good news for Duhan. I feel like he went from scoring lots of tries and winning games to going, whoops, what just happened?
I think the thing that is noticeable about Duhan van der Merwe, though, and it was talked about on towards the end of the season, Duhan's defensive game has come on leaps and bounds.
That's true.
Now, you could argue that's because he's playing in a team where he's having to defend a lot, and just by his osmosis, he's eventually learned how to defend. Practice makes perfect, Duhan.
Yep.
But I mean, positionally, he was looking so much more smart about what he was doing. So I think there'll be benefits to his game of having been there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he rocks up somewhere else quite quickly.
I wonder, there were questions about his defense as far back as the Lions tour, and it feels to me like he's been getting better in that area ever since then. Do you think it's because he's in the Premiership and experiencing this different type of rugby, or is it just a natural progression as a player?
I mean, it could even be as simple as being around the Lions set up and just, hearing those different voices and learning a bit. So, yeah, there's a lot of different things maybe at play. But certainly his skill set in that area has increased tremendously. So it'll be good to see what he can do.
He should be a badass on defense.
Well, this is true, but I will refer you back to my famous Tim Visser, all 6'5" of Tim Visser, and the guy, to use a Scottish phrase, couldn't tackle a fish supper. He was, defense was not his game. Let's put it that way. So there has been examples of big units in the past that have not always been quite as keen on the defensive side of things. So, but I think probably the biggest concern in terms of, obviously, Worcester, there's rumours of the club getting bought. There's no indication at the moment that the fixture against Glasgow is going to be cancelled, or that there's any indication that. I think Steve Diamond, I can't believe we're going to give him praise here.
Whoa.
I know. Hold the phones. Do we need to censor this? Steve Diamond apparently has been doing a lot to keep the players together as a unit.
I've heard the morale is just terrible right now.
Yeah, it's not easy. And all the while, Glasgow are marketing their jolly to Inverness with all the aplomb that they usually achieve. We've had Xander Fagerson in an Inverness Caledonian Thistle shirt. We had Tuipulotu talking to the press today as well.
Really?
Deepest,
see, this is the kind of thing we don't get here. It's not like I can say, "Oh yeah, I caught that coverage," because it's not here.
Yeah,
Tuipulotu did what?
Yeah, you got to love a bit of Tuipulotu in deepest, darkest Inverness, sure. So yeah, but it'll be interesting to see, and I think it's important to note as well before we move on to the other bits and pieces. I think they've missed quite a lot from the press coverage of this. Is that this fixture is designed to tie in with it's the centenary year for Highland Rugby Club, who are based up in Inverness. So it's their centenary year, and as part of the celebrations, that's part of the reasons the game's up there. So obviously, huge congratulations to everybody involved with that club, and we hope that your centenary year is going well.
Well, I wonder, with a coach like this, if the Warriors are going to come in just steaming, like, oh yeah, you think you can get rid of us? It might be they come out hugely aggressive and surprise everybody a little bit.
I think it would be a massive surprise if they didn't come out the box all guns blazing.
Yeah.
And I think, as with all these preseason friendlies, you don't read too much into them. It's,
yeah.
There'll be a squad of about 40 players will take the field at some point, just from Glasgow. So, but we'll see. It's good to see rugby kind of dotting around the country as well. And I know a few people who, well, actually Rory, blog founder Rory, who's based up in Inverness, he doesn't always get the chance to go and see like the pro clubs that often.
Oh, nice.
So it's great that
I always love inter-competition, fixtures as well. This is like a friendly version of one of the European Cups instead of just a regular, friendly URC kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there'll be a bit more to it, won't there? So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. In terms of other news, as I indicated earlier on in the pod, that we have a new Scotland shirt, and it has been met with the same reaction that every Scotland shirt in the history of Scotland shirts has been met with. Someone has reliably written a cheat sheet for you, so that when a Scotland shirt comes out, you can just reference the cheat sheet.
Oh, nice! It's new kit bingo.
Yeah, yep. So it's too expensive. The sizing's all wrong. It does have a collar, doesn't have a collar, is weird in the arms, depending which one you subscribe to. We've also got does it have tartan? Doesn't it have tartan? Where's the purple? Why is there no purple? Is there purple? It's very.
I saw a couple of the reactions, and it seemed like I'm pretty sure I read this a year or so ago, and maybe the year before that.
Yes, absolutely. So to be fair, so I think my looking at the shirt, my sort of initial feeling, and I've just noticed the man himself, the myth, the legend, has just screeched into sight. There he is.
Good evening, all. How are we doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Just a bit of a rush there just to get in from training. So
we were commenting, Craig. We were a bit concerned that you were stuck in a Roomba and you were just going round and round in circles and you weren't sure what was happening.
Vacuum humour. I like to hear.
We are a vacuous pair.
Oh, boom, boom. This is why you're here, boys and girls. This is why you're here. So we've just talked about Worcester Warriors and how Duhan's coming to Glasgow, Craig. We didn't say Duhan.
Didn't work.
Well, so, I don't know. I think there'd be an implosion through in Glasgow because you've got Alan Dell and then Duhan, the two most beautiful men in rugby.
Yeah, and then Hugh Jones as well. I mean, that is Sex Factor stuff. It's magnificent.
We finally have a game plan. Paralyze the other team.
Yeah, with pure beauty.
Yep.
With pure beauty, absolutely.
That's the game. So we're just discussing the Scotland strip, Craig. So I was just giving the usual cheat sheet of what gets said about Scotland strip on release day. What was your initial take on it? What do you think?
I quite like it. It's I know there's a lot of comments about there's no white on it and there's this and that and the other in the pale blue, but
purple maybe.
Purple. But I actually quite like it, and I like the fact that did someone mention that it's there's a lot part of it is made out of recycled bottles or something like that.
Yeah, I read that.
So they were saying that each shirt it's 13 500 milliliter or so half liter bottles of plastic have been recycled into the shirt. So I mean that's a decent effort. So that's about half of what Finn Russell drinks before a game of Iron Brew. So
Yeah.
So this also indicates the start of a new Iron Brew sponsorship as well, I think.
I absolutely should do, yeah, but only empty Iron Brew. So
Exactly.
I mean, what we're going to do? Because it's so good that obviously the bottles are empty.
Absolutely, yeah. But no, I quite like it. I've got to say, I think it's. I've got a track top from last year that had the pink on it, and it was. I think it's just a little bit too shell suity for me. So it'll be interesting to see all the rest of the bits and pieces that are going to come out.
I'm always really interested to see the away strip as well, because obviously we don't have an away top yet. But last year, the tops last year, I was really underwhelmed by the home top. I thought it was just a bit, as you say, there was bits of pink in it and things, and it was just a bit like it kind of looked a bit cheap, but then it certainly wasn't cheap. So, but I actually bought the away top because I quite liked the white, and again, it had the pink in it, but with the white and the small dashes of pink and blue, I thought that was quite a smart top. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the away shirt looks like. David, will you be scouring the SRU website for a new Scotland shirt this year?
No, well, I never buy. I'm way too cheap to buy new national team jerseys of any kind.
Do not blame you in the slightest, buddy.
It's ridiculous. And curse you, John, for pointing me towards eBay. Now I just have an alert set up that said the words "rare rugby jersey, $30 and under with free shipping," and I get an email about that every day. I'm like, oh, why am I doing this to myself? But no, and of course I saw the announcement of the new kit. Well, but just on my phone, on Twitter, so it's kind of these thumbnails. The amount of people complaining is much bigger than the actual photo of the uniforms themselves. I was like, is there a big difference? It looks very, very similar to me. And then everybody was complaining about the Peter Vardy thing, which I don't see why that's a new thing to complain about. I thought the reaction seemed confusing considering how, meet the new kit, same as the old kit, it looked to me.
It wasn't a reaction. So you're right. It wasn't a new reaction because it was exactly the same reaction that we all heard last year. Mm-hmm. And really, I mean, it's not my hands in the ruck, but I'm going to have a little gripe about it just now. Believe it or not, sports teams need sponsorship. And if a company is willing to put their hand in the pocket and go, do you know what? No matter how hideous their logo is, or, we all laugh about the Glasgow tops with the big green box on it. The Scottish Power big green box, horrendous, ruined the strip, right? But they still put their hand in their pocket and paid money.
Sure,
Peter Vardy has done that, and it's clearly more money, or at least it seems to be more money than perhaps previous title sponsor BT. Other sponsors we've had over the years, we've had some absolute. I mean, obviously, people remember the famous grouse was the one and only, really. But yeah, we've had a couple other shockers as well. So I think I don't get too hung up on it. And actually, a lot of these strips are so badly made now that the Peter Vardy thing will be on that stupid plastic that comes off in the wash if you if you wash it in the wrong temperature, which clearly I'm obviously going to do. So,
Logan, sorry, David, there you go.
I was just going to say, so this might be an odd take because I'm a convert, because American sports don't generally do the advertisements on the jersey. It's just the plain jersey. You get your name on it and stuff, and you get your own number. That's the typical American style. And Americans who first encounter soccer, for instance, are like, "Oh my God, what?" They look like NASCAR. Yeah. Cars out there, with all these. How many more ads can you fit on a guy? And then I figured it out. There's no commercials during those rugby games. There's no damn commercials. I don't have to spend 2 out of every 3 minutes watching an ad for Little Caesars or something. I will take it. Show me as many go French, fit as many logos onto your kit as you possibly can. Plus, then here's my weird take: is the other thing is it'll change the next year. But if you had a really special year that year, now that uniform looks like something to you. It's like, oh yeah, that's that kit, not just our jersey in general. It's like, oh, that's the year we did this.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take, because I find myself, I associate jerseys with sometimes with events, but quite often I associate them with players. Like, so I've got like specific jerseys, and it'll be like, well, that reminds me of this player, or that reminds me of this time when that player done that. So it is quite unique in American sport that you have that kind of, you have the strip, and there might be subtle changes to it, but ultimately, you know, American football top from 1995 will generally be the same color and roughly the same design as one in 2005 and 2015. So it is fairly interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Of course, once they started adding those things to NBA jerseys, I was like, oh no, no. Can't have it both ways, guys.
Well, the thing is, we're also what I don't seem to understand is that everyone's moaning about Peter Vardy being on the shirt, but actually, it's white writing on the shirt. It actually goes quite
nice.
Well.
It's all right.
Yeah. For a sponsor, it's a decent shout. So I don't know. No, you're never going to please everybody. And to be honest, I'm a big fan of the dark blue with a white collar. And a little bit of light blue or a little bit of purple, and I think one of the strips, I think the one that had the tartan down the sides, was a favourite of mine. But then, funnily enough, when you're talking about a player in a shirt, the red with the yellow,
world class Phil Godman.
Well, actually, it was John Barkley. I associate with that because he scored in front of me, not just for me. He scored a try, right. Yeah, he went, "That's for you, Craig," and he, yeah.
It was like say anything for Scottish rugby.
Yeah, but yeah, I was at Murrayfield and he scored in that shirt. I just remember that one stuck with me as well, and I loved that shirt actually. I wish I had one.
That was the world class Phil Godman one, wasn't it? It was the red.
I think so. Yeah.
Yellow, white. Right, I'm going to look this up as we go.
It had the lion rampant through it, did it not?
Let's rugby. Let's see what we get. I mean, that is a fairly generic Google right there. We will have to do. Oh, there it is. There's the. Oh, it's on eBay, David.
Oh, under $30 free shipping. I can't remember if I told you guys I got a couple of Bizarro jerseys, and one of them was way too small. So I was like, "Hey, son, you try it on." And he was like, "This smells funny." Yeah, it's from Eastern Europe, and I don't even know what kind of cigarettes this dude smoked.
Yeah, so I think that was the 2005-06 Scotland away shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty.
I'm a wee bit excited because I've got new shirt tomorrow. It's Edinburgh's revealed tomorrow.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't think it'll change much. I think it'll just be a slight movement, but we'll see what happens.
This will be the year that the title sponsor is Iron Brew.
That needs to happen.
It's like such a no-brainer. You look like a can of ginger, and like he's still only sponsored by them, and like you could market the absolute gubbins out of that. Be like, oh look, Edinburgh made of girders. Wee, look at us, hard as nails. Like roll out Schumann and have him like swigging Iron Brew with some bills.
Standing beside the Forth Bridge.
Aye, exactly. Yeah. There you go. I mean, I'm doing the marketing team's job for them here. Like, SRU, get in contact. We'll get this all sorted for you. It's fine. It's dead easy. So, yeah, I don't think it'll change too much. Although I really do hope it does. I really hope it's like an absolute shocker of a strip, and it just looks hideous. And then I love watching you guys explode on Twitter. So it's gonna be brilliant.
Oh, we're not Stade Francais, are we? We're not.
No. Well, I mean, at times you used to be. Yeah. Back when you done the charity strips and stuff. I miss those days.
I remember the chainmail and everything like that, and the red, black and white urban camo.
That was a personal favourite. That was a cracker. Yeah, it was Phil Burley. Always associate with the camo and the chainmail, because I'm just thinking there's not a person less likely to be allowed to be in any of those in any other circumstances but a rugby top.
The Yosemite Sam style Glasgow Warriors logo is this year 4? We're going to be entering with that.
It'll be about that, yeah.
How's that gone? It seems like that was going to be like, okay, we're gonna sell plushies and market to kids or something. Has that worked?
Well, I mean, I know Cameron is indeed watching tonight because he's just dropped us a wee comment about how the show's going downhill. But I kind of don't want to tell Cammy this, but Glasgow are bringing their mascot back this year. Clyde is back. Now, I don't know if it's the real Clyde, Cammy. I don't know if it's...
It isn't. Is
it not?
It doesn't look like the real... It doesn't look
oh
like
my
the real
gosh,
Clyde.
Cammy's going to have to show up in person and investigate and harass.
I feel a trip through to Scotland coming on.
I think now that Cammy's in the general vicinity of Scotland, I think a day trip to Scotland to go and heckle Clyde sounds right up his street.
Blaze vest, megaphone.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Just imagine the eruption at an 1872 Cup game when we've got both of them.
Both the imposters.
Both the imposters. And
Cammy he'll not know what to do. Like he'll actually just like I think he'll just explode. He'll just not be sure. Like poor fake Flinty and fake Clyde.
The sight of Cammy being forcibly ejected from the match is going to be all over Twitter the next day.
Well, to be honest with you, David, the last 1872 Cup, I think they all tried their best.
The resistance was too powerful.
It really was.
I think it was probably just that actually the keeping us in the stadium to mock us was more like beneficial for Edinburgh than letting us go. So it was definitely we took our licks that day. That's for sure.
That's why I brought Johnny McGinty along so he could sit beside us, so he could just take a bit of punishment.
Yeah. It took it well. We were in with the Glasgow fans, and some of them moved. So take from that what you will. But yeah, so no, Clyde is back. But no rumours of a Glasgow top yet. But we will see. I'm pretty sure it will have red, white, and green on it, and we'll probably have a pizza somewhere on it, and we will be celebrating. All that is Italian, given that people are, continue to go on about Franco Smith. I think maybe because he's called Franco, and people are going Franco, and he managed Italy, he must be Italian. Smith's not a very Italian name, but then you could argue some of the players that have played for Italy recently, not exactly the most Italian surnames. With Luke McLean was a personal highlight.
Yeah, well, once they start interviewing him, then they'll realise very, very quickly that Franco is not Italian. That's for sure.
He's very South African. Yes, it's safe to say.
Very South African.
Very South African.
Well, did I tell you guys this story? So years and years ago, I had first seen Lud de Jager and realized what a special player he was, and then I was watching him play. It must have been for sale, I guess. And I was like, oh, that guy. I remember this guy. Doesn't he play for the Springboks? And then the announcers kept saying, Lud de Jager. And they would always just say, Lud de Jager. And I was like, Lud de Jager? Like Ludiaga? Like, he's Italian? Is that weird? So I Googled Ludiaga space rugby, and it was like, did you mean Lud de Jager?
Yeah.
Like, wow, Google, good job.
It's a monster of a man. He's, what cracks me up is the fact that you see Lud de Jager on the same pitch as Faf de Klerk, and the difference is just phenomenal. You could almost put a Faf de Klerk on top of Faf de Klerk, and you would still be just about at the same level as Lud de Jager.
Put him in a trench coat. They can both go to the movies together.
Absolutely, yeah.
No, we can go to this movie.
2 for Jurassic Park.
I mean, one.
Oh dear.
Well, I tried a series of memes for a little while, like a picture of Lud de Jager with his family, and I was like, Brood de Jager, and then a platter of food from it. It's Food de Jager, and it never caught any traction.
No.
Probably deservedly so.
I think that's more timing than anything else, David. I think you could have got there. If you'd done it on TikTok, you would be fine.
There I am.
See, that's what it was. You just needed a different medium to go and get there. Well, speaking of having a laugh about the pro clubs and strips and what have you, for what it's worth, I think the Scotland top isn't that bad. I think the light blue collar is a bit weird, but there you go. Also think Scott Cummings, I just don't understand why we use him as a as like the model for the men's one. He's a lovely big boy, but I wouldn't have him as my model for my Scotland top. There's plenty of other players would be a better shout. But anyway, maybe he was available. But moving on to the kind of core of tonight's free part of the episode, we've obviously myself and Craig have been on David's podcast, Scrum on the Earth. If you haven't checked it out and subscribed, please head over and do so, because it is an absolute belter. We were on the other day and we did a bit of a URC preview. So if you have listened to that, you will no doubt have heard myself and Craig discussing who's going to play us in the upcoming dramatisation of the Scottish Rugby podcast.
That went much better than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just sprung it on you.
I wasn't really sure where that was going, and yet, I've had many tweets about that. But yeah, so we did a bit of a preview, but we'll just kind of summarise our thoughts here. It'd be good to kind of get your take on things as well, David. Given, like, I presume it's quite difficult for you to watch the URC.
So you got to subscribe to their own streaming service. Last year, I had a feeling they set the price at X, and I was like, that seems a little high. And I just have a feeling that after 3 weeks, they're going to be like, oh shit, nobody's paying for this yet. We better slash this price. And sure enough, that's exactly what they did. So I just paid the $50 instead of the $90 or whatever, and then watch the rest. I think they're doing the same thing this year. The thing that's concerning here is, so, the NBC sports streaming service Peacock has carried the Prem, Six Nations, HSBC, Sevens, and all the European competitions. They literally took the rugby category off of their site just in the last week or so.
Ooh.
Of course, on the other hand, Flow, or Blow Rugby, as I call them, have added the top 14. So for the first time ever, I might be able to watch the top 14, but all those competitions I just mentioned, I have no idea where they're going to be this year. So a little worrisome. I'm sure I'm going to do the same thing with the URC as I did last year. I think that'll be fine.
It's a strange one, isn't it, Craig? Because obviously the URC have been talking. There's been rumours and mumblings for quite a few years about the desire for the URC to break the American market and start to get traction in America, possibly even looking at, because we've already got the harebrained scheme of flying 14 hours south, so we might as well fly 14 hours east or west to go and play rugby as well. It's a strange one that it's not as readily available as, like, you would expect there to be maybe a something in place to make that easier.
Yeah, well,
sorry. ESPN Plus used to carry the Pro 14 and a couple other competitions, and ESPN was like, okay, that's enough rugby for us. So
I think it's also, I think it's still a very, very niche sport over in America, I guess, isn't it, David? I don't know if I'm right or not, but so I guess the money's not there for the advertisers, and also the fact that with rugby you can't have an ad break every 5 minutes. You're going to miss something. So unless it's a Johnny Sexbot kicking the ball over the posts, or Dan Bigger, who's going to take about 6 minutes to actually get the ball placed and then get it all right, you could maybe go to commercial on that one. But I don't know. You would think that with Rock Nation being involved, that you're going to start to see rugby taking over the world as such, but there's nothing happened yet.
MLR has figured out a way to sandwich in, I think only one commercial per half, so not that bad. But I think they basically tie it to a planned water break, essentially, so they know they're going to have 60 seconds or whatever. So.
If there's sorry, John, but if there's a league that's going to tie itself in with Rock Nation, I'll tell you the MLR would be a good shout, because of the antics of it's for the beautiful people over in MLR, so it would work well with the Rock Nation style promotion, I would think, especially the Giltinis anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Well, is there not? There's an argument to be said then that perhaps what we need to be doing is, like, obviously we've criticised Johnny Sexbot and Dan Biggerana for their antics goal kicking, but maybe there's an argument to be said that we just extend that and say, do you know what, goal kickers, you're absolutely mandated that you have to take 2.5 minutes, because then we can cut to break. You get a 2-minute commercial in, and then it comes back just as he's doing his last flap about, or Johnny's kind of staring into space once more. Just in time for the kick to go.
Well, you're down 4. There's 2 minutes left, but
here we're going to commercial. Yeah,
Pizza Hut.
Yeah. I'll tell you the thing though. I was really impressed, and I hope the SIU are listening, because I want royalties off of this one. If they take this idea, yeah, they are always listening. If they take this idea, but I was at the Blue Jays baseball game when I was over in Canada, and they've got a picture, and I'm sorry, Blue Jays, or any fans out there, I've totally forgotten his name, but he comes on in the last innings. And he's a last innings pitcher. He comes out and he's in to finish the game out and make sure there's no walks or anything like that. And they've got the digital advertising hoardings all around it, and it all goes to fire. And then all of a sudden they bring out this picture of him. He's coming on and he walks, and it's not like he walks out the area where, if you've ever watched baseball, they've got like a dugout. He doesn't walk out of there. No, he comes from the pitching area, which is right at the back of the stadium, and he has to walk across from where they go from home run. You know, if they hit a home run, from over there all the way over the pitching mound. And I tell you what, there's a way of bringing on your subs instead of your subs, absolutely. And everyone's really confused. Did they just come on? Have we seen the player that we want to see? The bomb squad are coming on. Welcome to this arena, Stephen Kitsoff, and you can see this. You can just imagine that, you know.
Are you suggesting we do WWE style entrance music for?
I am absolutely 100%.
Yes! Is that Dwebe's music we hear?
That we should have. If Schumann is on the bench, for example, and then the damn health, we get his picture coming up, and there's music, and on he comes as he's. Would you
do it like proper WWE style, where like the lights would all go down? And then it would just be like a big crescendo, and the music would start playing, and then he would come. He'd be high-fiving people on the way across. Then maybe a wee pose at the centre circle as well, just to, like a wee flex of the muscle, or whatever they like to do.
I think you've taken that too far, John.
It's just not baseball.
No, but I just honestly, I just think that, especially in Murrayfield, or when you're playing international games, on come the subs, and they kind of, and we're all, especially if you're in the sports stadium, you don't know they're coming on. You don't. You're struggling to see it. And I just think there's something that could be done there that says on, and coming onto the field now is, and then you'll get to watch them come on, and there's a big hoo-ha rather than them being on the field, and then there's just a guy in the background, or usually it's Bruce Aitchison who's going, coming on the field at such and such,
I think there's an argument as well that actually it's quite difficult sometimes to follow with Scotland in particular, because half the time we're not entirely sure who the substitutes are or what they look like, because Gregor Townsend has, obviously just picked a wild one from middle of nowhere, and Cammy's edited the wiki page, so you don't know what he looks like. It's tough. It's tough.
I'm just waiting on the... Here comes Jovan Sebastian. Boom! John runs out with a chair and hits him across the back and stuff like that.
Scottish rugby does Attitude Era WWE. Fantastic.
How many players can we use Enter Sandman for?
Well, actually, if you have a Glasgow Warriors, use it for older players.
Exactly. Yep. I miss when we had Biffy Clyro. I'm a massive Metallica fan, but I do like Biffy Clyro for us coming out. That was better. The captain, which Glasgow haven't got one of those yet. So, we need to figure that one out.
We wait with bated breath.
We do. Right. Anyway, that was enough of that. URC, Craig. Where are Edinburgh going to finish? Tell me.
For any of those who were listening to the Scrum of the Earth, I really do feel that Edinburgh have a chance to finish top 3 this year, and I think they've got a chance to push on. They've maybe it's not as much recruitment maybe they haven't spent as much of the SRU's money than maybe I would have wanted them to, but they've got or they've saved a little bit of it by bringing in Otterak and they've signed a few of the younger lads coming in, or re-signed them, or brought them out the academies and signed them with their first pro contracts. But
hey kid, want to play for Edinburgh? First time's free.
Oh, you've met Mike Blair.
And it's at this point we introduced that David's actually been masquerading as a podcaster. He is in fact the head of finance at the SRU.
I'll sue, I tell you. We have lawyers in New York.
Yes, we do indeed have lawyers in New York. But top 3, Craig.
I'm saying we have an opportunity to do that.
What? And the season hasn't started yet, and everybody can finish top 3.
Everybody can finish 2-3. The thing is, if you look at it, what we managed to do in Blair's first year with the team that we had, he added a couple of players in. He brought in. Langers and that had been already signed. James Lang had already been signed, etc. But in came Moyano and Boffelli. Moyano's moving on or has moved on, but we've got Wes Goosen in now.
I see Moyano listed as being released, by the way. Does he already have another club? Was that a mutual thing, or did they just say, you're out of here?
It was a complete. It was basically they put up a montage of all the players that were leaving this season, and there was obviously Ben Toulis, everyone, James Johnson, people like that, and then all of a sudden, just at the bottom, it said Moyano, and I'm like, hang on a minute, where's he going? Because he honestly, I don't understand. Well, unless something's gone completely wrong, he was actually playing very well. So, to release him would be out into the wild with no other contract. I'm sure he's moving on to something.
There has to be a plan, right?
Has to be something, I think we've got the building blocks are there. We've got the stadium. We're now. Mike Blair's had his opportunity now to build this squad and shape them into the way that they're going to play. So we'll wait and see. I really do think. I think it's a positive. It's going to be a positive season. We just need to ensure that we don't have a Zebri moment. I think we need to. Those are the sort of matches we need to put the knee onto the neck of the teams, rather than kind of go in there thinking we're going to win, and then all of a sudden, we're needing a last minute penalty to win.
I think there's an argument to be said as well for those games that you think you should go and win. It's about. I don't have a problem with those, but as you say, Craig, I have what I want the Scottish teams to do is where there's an opportunity to go and win handsomely, put down a marker, go and absolutely smash someone. The difference in if you can go to one of the lower teams in the league, right, and you can go and you can smash 50 points past them, the impact that has throughout the squad, you know how to score points, and it just makes teams think about you. It might be, it was only Zebri, but ultimately you still popped 50 points past a professional defence.
Yeah.
So, you've got to make teams think about that. So, but I agree with you. I think Edinburgh will hopefully kick on. I think you're on for a good season. Hopefully not too good. I could really do without you getting progressively more gloaty on this, Craig.
Gloaty. Love it, gloaty. I'm going to keep that. That's it. I'm going to get that tattooed on my arm.
Are you going to get tattooed in alternate orange and blue letters?
Absolutely, and it's going to be I'm going to be sitting here instead of the goat, I am the gloat.
I am the goat. Amazing. So, obviously, conflict of interest here. So I'm going to recuse myself from speaking about the Glasgow season. David, we obviously talked the other day about Glasgow, and where do you think the pro clubs are going to end up this year?
I wish I could agree with Craig. I don't. Top three seems impossible to me because of the Irish sides and the South African sides. I just don't think there's room in that top three. You're going to have Leinster at the top. You're going to have the Stormers right there. That third spot is going to be the Bulls or Munster or Ulster, you'd think. I think maybe fourth, but I see it really. That top three is just a log jam, especially with the top, at least one or two spots just kind of spoken for. It's funny because I had thought Glasgow were going to do better this year than last year because it seemed like they got, all the talk was, we've got to get rid of this coach, but we can't get rid of him. And then they got rid of him, and it was like, oh, maybe the mood just lightened considerably. Maybe things are looking up. But talking to you, John, actually, I'm like, no, it's reasonable to expect a step back. If they start out with a couple of big wins right off the bat and look convincing, I think that could build a lot of player momentum and a lot of just sort of team confidence that could translate. But if they come out and, skid the first three or four, I think they might all think, oh, yeah, this is a rebuilding year and that's okay. And, nothing happens that quickly and stuff. And I think the foot might come off the gas a little bit.
Yeah, I think part of the concern for Glasgow as well is they're already going into the season, 9 injuries is what's listed at the moment. So we're already going into the season, no first choice fly half because Ross Thompson's out with a back injury. Duncan Weir's out as well, which we've done to death my views on that. So we're either going to be starting the season with a lesser spotted Diego Minotti, who obviously Danny Wilson did not fancy in the slightest, which makes me convinced that he's probably one of the best players in the world. Or we've got short-term signing Joel Hodgson, who formerly of Newcastle Falcons. What is it with Falcons fly halves, Craig, and dodgy haircuts? Is it a thing that they do?
Well, it's amazing because, actually, the first time I saw Joel Hodgson was Newcastle were playing Edinburgh as a warm-up game, and he was playing scrum half.
Oh, okay.
And he's quite a vibrant scrum half, and he had these flowing blonde. He was a Faf de Klerk, looked like, with the flowing blonde locks. And I might be completely wrong, but I was sure it was scrum half. And then he's moved on to he's moved up to he's moved over to fly half. And it's for me, and okay, it might just be that the market is kind of what's the word? The market is kind of, there's a logjam and there's not very many people out on the market there to sign up, but. To be honest, you would think that they would hang on to Sean Kennedy. I don't know if Sean Kennedy's retired fully, but they bring one of the young lads through from the Fosrock Academy rather than bringing in Joel Hodgson. Sorry, I was wrong with Sean Kennedy. I've mixed up there, but
just say scrum half. But yeah, no, Sean Kennedy's still there. But I take the point, Craig. I think you're absolutely right. You would, and maybe that does speak to like the depth of 10 at the Super Six, and we've obviously talked about the type of game that the Super Six, it's been very entertaining watching it, and a bit like Super Rugby in a lot of ways, and defence very optional. But it does maybe say to me that we're still in a position that the pro game is still too far away from that setup, that because you would want your 10, it's one of those ones. It's 10 in your props. You just can't. There's no hiding place. You just can't get away from it. So, but you're absolutely right.
But surely, John, what is the reason for the Super Six if it is not to provide you with professional players?
Craig, absolutely, good sir. That I just think that perhaps that pathway has not quite been fully utilised, and maybe it will take a couple of years before we see the fruits of this labour. But yes. Personally, I would happily see a young boy. Like I think we've done it with Ross Thompson. Do you know what? He came out of nowhere and was thrown in at the deep end. Finn Russell came out of nowhere and was thrown in at the deep end. Rory Jackson was the same. Duncan Weir was the same. Glasgow have got a history of throwing 10s in at the deep end and going, do you know what? Show us what you got or ship out. And that's professional sport. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I think, we look at Edinburgh under Cockrell. You had Nathan Chamberlain absolutely gagging for game time and couldn't get it for toffee, and ended up he's down at London Scottish now. He's moved down there, but we have to put game time into these guys, because with the change in the league the way it is now, we're not going to get those. Theoretically, we're not going to get those international windows. Of course we are, because, obviously Scotland players will go into camp and we'll have to play a scratch team when we go on a tour to South Africa. But I think it's really important these young players get that game time. So I would have happily thrown someone in. But you're absolutely right about Joe Hodgson. He was scrum half for England under 18s before converting to fly half under 19s, but he would probably have covered scrum half as well. So you're spot on with your knowledge.
It's not like me to out knowledge you, John.
Do you know, he's a player I know very little about, other than his fantastically, wonderfully bad hair at times. So he's not a player I know terribly much about, but I'll be interested to see how he goes. And, it's an opportunity for him as well, short-term contract, but if he was to go well, there's always an opportunity to kind of boost the depth at 10 for Glasgow.
Absolutely.
Particularly if Ross Thompson gets a run at 10 for Scotland at some point. But
So Scottish players moving around. I see that Sam Hidalgo Klein he's ended up at Benetton from the Exeter Let the Rebranding Commence Chiefs. This will make his 6th team since leaving Edinburgh in 2018. Looks like his last cap was only 2 years ago, though. Is he completely off the radar?
So only been 6 clubs since 2018. I thought it had been about 60, to be honest.
Are you talking about European Cup winning Sam Hidalgo Klein?
I think we're talking about turnover winning European Cup winner Sam Hidalgo Klein. Yes. Honestly, that referee should have been struck off for how bad that was. It was penalty all day and twice on a Sunday.
But the thing is, and this is
I see Scarlets, Harlequins, Racing, Lyon, and the Chiefs.
During his time at Scarlets, he also played for one of the Welsh Premiership teams, because he was patched out to them.
And this is the thing. This is what I'm trying to say, though. Is it's what is it with Scottish nines that they seem to be underused, and then all of a sudden, there must be something about him that he doesn't, because when he was playing at Exeter, he looked pretty good.
Player, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, he seems to be the sort of player who always plays quite well in short-term contracts, or plays quite well when his contracts are up for renewal. Yeah, and then he gets a 2-year and it falls off a cliff. So it's a shame. I've always rated him. I always thought he was a really exciting talent, but just hasn't happened for him, I suppose. He was probably a Glasgow scrum half, really. Like at the time, if he had been at Glasgow, he suited their game plan.
Yeah, and he was one of the Cockerell clearouts, wasn't he?
Yeah. So that maybe says everything we need to say about his potentially where his head was at the time. Perhaps he was driving his car the length of the training pitch.
You never know.
I really hope that wasn't true. But
well, speaking of Scottish players leaving Exeter, Sam Skinner's coming back home to you, Craig, I believe, after 8 years with Exeter. It looks like.
Yeah. I wasn't sure of the signing. He's obviously been signed to bring him back up here so that he's training with Scotland, and he's got more availability with Scotland, I guess. Because obviously we're dripping with back rows, and obviously we're so dripping with back rows that we've actually handed an incredibly good one over to Glasgow. And because he's a hybrid of a 6 and a second row, it was an interesting one. I think he'll be there to do more second row work than back row work at Edinburgh, because he is a big. a big lumbering is the wrong word, but I'm trying to get across that he's not the fastest person in the world. Hulking.
Hulking's a good term
but
for it.
he's going to provide a bit of strength. He replaces Ben Toulis. He might give you a little bit more forward movement than Grant Gilchrist. But on the other side of things, the way Edinburgh are playing, we have maybe 3 or 4 static players as such. But even if you look at Schumann, who is the widest human being I've met for some time, he can still get around the park pretty well, So it'll be interesting to see.
He's got pace.
Yeah.
When Scrum gets free and you see him just charge, woo! It's so much fun.
I wonder if Skinner. I wonder if part of the move there as well is obviously we've talked about Grant Gilchrist's set piece. Obviously we talked about him as a very canny line-out operator, and I do wonder if there's an element of Skinner. Will he be learning from Gilchrist's? No, he's not the youngest boy anymore. Skinner's got a few years on him. I think Skinner could be a massive part of Scotland's kind of post-World Cup rebuild, and if he is able to add that string to his bow of line out caller, line out operator, able to get up, and it's a challenge because he is a big boy, and you don't always want to be throwing your heaviest second row up into there.
The rebuild after the last World Cup or this coming one?
This one. I'm preempting it. Well noted, though, David.
What I would say, however, though, is that I think the other side of things is both Edinburgh and Scotland need an Exeter style forward.
Yeah.
And if you watch Exeter play, their forwards, especially over the last 5 years, have you just need to look at Johnny Hill, for example. I think they've got a bit, they've got that nastiness to them, and not so much a Peter Romani nastiness, but we'll get into that in the Patreon pod.
Yeah.
But Sam Skinner will bring that, just that big, bulky, you don't want to mess with them sort of person to Edinburgh and also into Scotland.
Right. So prior to going to the Patreon, then, because we've given the free viewers an hour and almost an hour and 6 minutes. You're getting all the time here, guys. Right, Craig, URC winner, Champions Cup winner, go.
URC winner. I'm going to go a little bit left field and say Ulster.
Yep.
And European Cup. Oh, goodness. I think Leicester Tigers are going to take it this year.
Leicester Tigers. Wow, that is 2 of the hottest takes you'll hear in the history of rugby right there. I was going to ask you who's going to be your World Cup winner, but I'm kind of scared to ask now, Craig.
Portugal.
Damn it. You stole it from me.
Sorry, man.
World Cup winner. I think it's probably Russia. No, no. I think you'll see. It's going to be. I think it's going to be South Africa again.
South Africa again. Okay, David. Same question. URC, Champions Cup, Rugby World Cup.
Stormers in the URC. I'm going to agree with Craig and say the Tigers take it.
You are both absolutely at it here. You are clearly at it.
I like that one. I really like that.
File yourselves.
And I've been saying it out loud on my own pod so many times I can't not say France. See, it's probably the most obvious, least hot take possible, but I don't see. It's all lined up. If they don't win, it's going to be so catastrophic. It's going to be beautiful and historic too. So.
So I'm going to say for the double, I think it's probably going to be Edinburgh for the URC in the Champions Cup. That's
doing the reverse jinx here.
Yeah,
I'm having what he's having.
2 more glasses of that, good sir. Yeah, I think I can't see past Leinster for the URC. I know it's so predictable. I think the Stormers will be there or thereabouts. Champions Cup, I am going to go for a horrible hot take. And I think it's going to be Saracens. It's going to be disgusting, and I'm going to hate myself every moment of it.
Damn, you're probably right.
And then for the World Cup, I agree. France are going to be there or thereabouts, but the All Blacks are playing absolute psychology right now. And the fact that they are so bad right now inevitably means they're going to be so good in a year's time. So I think
the anti-Ireland.
I think the All Blacks are going to still take it, and it's going to be hilarious when they do.
Oh man.
So that is us for the free part of the podcast. Patreons, please hang about, come and join us. We are going to get a little bit sweary, and we're going to put the world of rugby to rights. It's been, for not having had too much to talk about, we have fair rambled on tonight, but it's been an absolute pleasure having David and Craig with me tonight. So we'll say goodbye to our freemium viewers. It is goodbye from me, and goodbye from Craig and David. Craig, David.
Bye-bye.
Come on, guys.